In the crystal-clear waters of the Indian Ocean, where turquoise meets the infinite sky, lies one of the planet's greatest underwater treasures. The Maldives, an archipelago of 1,200 islands and 26 coral atolls, holds beneath its waves one of the most extraordinary concentrations of marine life ever recorded by science. Between 4 and 7 degrees north of the equator, this tropical paradise hosts coral reefs that function as underwater metropolises, where millions of fish perform a synchronized dance that defies human imagination. Here, in depths ranging from 5 to 40 meters, nature has created a spectacle of colors, shapes, and movements that rivals the greatest works of art ever conceived. What makes the Maldives shoals truly unique is the perfect combination of nutrient-rich ocean currents, stable tropical temperatures between 28 and 30 degrees Celsius, and a complex reef architecture that offers protection and abundant food. For millions of years, evolution has sculpted collective behaviors with mathematical precision, where thousands of individuals move as a single living organism. Each shoal tells a story of survival, adaptation, and pure beauty. From spiral formations that confuse predators to silvery tornadoes that dominate the currents, from colorful armies patrolling the corals to translucent ghosts floating among the shadows, this is a celebration of life in its most mesmerizing and vibrant form. In the passages between the Maldivian atolls, where ocean currents accelerate through narrow channels, the first protagonists of this underwater spectacle emerge. Fusiliers, scientifically known as kaisio, dominate these waters with schools that frequently exceed 10,000 individuals. Their blue-silver scales reflect sunlight like thousands of underwater mirrors, creating a shimmering curtain that stretches for tens of meters. These fish, which measure between 15 and 30 centimeters in length, swim in perfect synchrony at speeds that can reach 40 kilometers per hour. In the outer reefs of Ari Atoll and the passages of Ba Atoll, fusiliers form such dense aggregations that they literally block visibility, transforming the blue water into a pulsating silver cloud. They feed on zooplankton brought in by the currents, strategically positioning themselves where the deep ocean meets the shallow reefs, at depths between 10 and 25 meters. The coordination of marine fish is a phenomenon that has fascinated marine scientists for decades. Each fish maintains an exact distance from its neighbors, approximately 1 body length, reacting to changes in direction in less than 50 milliseconds. This synchronicity transforms the school into a fluid entity that ripples through the ocean like silk in the wind. In the Maldives, particularly in the Kanduma and Guraidu channels, marine fish perform daily vertical migrations, descending to depths of 40 meters during the hottest hours, and ascending to shallow reefs at dawn and dusk. Their dense formations confuse larger predators such as tuna and barracuda, creating a visual effect known as confusion of targets. When threatened, the school compresses even further, forming compact spheres that spin on themselves, an aquatic ballet of military precision that represents one of the most efficient defense strategies in the animal kingdom. Just below this silvery curtain, another spectacle unfolds in the deeper waters of the outer reefs. Barracudas, members of the genus Sphyraena, create formations that defy traditional geometric logic. Unlike most schools of fish that move horizontally, these elegant, elongated predators organize themselves into hypnotic vertical spirals, like aquatic tornadoes rising from the ocean floor to the surface. Each barracuda measures between 60 and 120 centimeters in length, with silvery fusiform bodies marked by dark vertical bars. On the reefs of Raztu Atoll and the vertical walls of North Malay Atoll, schools of 200 to 1,000 barracudas perform slow, majestic rotations, creating living cylinders that can be 15 meters high and 5 meters in diameter. Underwater observers often find themselves inside these formations, surrounded by concentric circles of predators swimming in slow motion. The circular behavior of barracuda serves multiple fascinating ecological purposes. During the day, these formations function as social meeting points, where individuals from different areas of the reef gather to rest and conserve energy. The constant rotation allows each fish to remain vigilant against larger threats, such as white-tip reef sharks and dolphins, while remaining in a state of active rest. As the sun sets over the Indian Ocean, usually between 6 and 7 p.m., the spirals dissolve and the barracuda depart on hunting missions individually or in small groups. In the Maldives, particularly in the deep waters between 25 and 40 meters around the Maya Thila and Fish Head reefs, these formations reach their maximum visual expression during the ebb tide, when currents bring oxygen-rich waters and plankton that attract their favorite prey. When ocean currents reach their peak intensity in the channels between atolls, the true masters of the open waters make their triumphant entrance. Big-eye jacks, scientifically known as Caranx sexfasciatus, form some of the most energetic and impressive schools in the entire Maldives archipelago. These powerful predators, which can reach up to 1.2 meters in length and weigh up to 18 kilograms, congregate in aggregations of hundreds or even thousands of individuals in the deep passages of the South Malay Atoll and in the violent currents of the Kanduma Channel. Their silvery bodies, marked by a characteristic dark spot behind the operculum, shine intensely under the filtered ocean light. The spectacle reaches its climax when the school forms the phenomenon known as a jack tornado, a swirling column of fish that can extend from 30 meters deep to almost the surface. The tornado-like formation of big-eye snappers is not merely decorative, but represents a highly sophisticated hunting strategy developed over millions of evolutionary years. By spinning at increasing speeds, often exceeding 50 kilometers per hour, these predators create a vortex that disorients smaller schools of snappers, sardines, and glassfish. Suddenly, isolated individuals explode from the tornado in lightning attacks, capturing stunned prey with surgical precision. In the Maldives, especially at the reefs of Foteokandu and Kudarathila, divers report encountering these formations more frequently during the new and full moons, when the currents reach their maximum intensity. The ideal temperature for this behavior ranges between 28 and 29 degrees Celsius, and the tornadoes generally form in zones where updrafts bring colder, nutrient-rich waters from the abyssal depths. Sharing the same strategic channels but operating at different depths, snappers of the genus Lujanus add bursts of color to the generally silvery spectrum of Maldivian schools. These species, which include the yellow snapper with a forked tail and the blue snapper with an elongated body, form dense aggregations in areas of strong current, particularly along the vertical walls of channels between atolls. Each species displays a distinct color palette. Some shine in intense golden yellow, others in deep crimson red, and some exhibit bluish-gray hues with metallic reflections. Schools of snappers can contain between 50 and 500 individuals, each measuring between 30 and 60 centimeters in length. On the reefs of Manta Point and the walls of the Vadhu Channel, these aggregations create colorful carpets that contrast dramatically with the deep blue of the open ocean. The behavior of snappers in the Maldives reveals a complex social organization based on hierarchies of size and experience. Larger individuals, often dominant males exceeding 5 kilograms, position themselves in areas of strongest current, where the first prey arrives, carried by the tide. Schools of snappers maintain semi-permanent territories along prominent reef features, such as submerged pinnacles and rocky outcrops, returning to the same locations day after day for years. During the breeding season, which in the Maldives occurs mainly between December and March, these schools perform remarkable vertical migrations, descending to depths of 50 to 60 meters during full moon nights to carry out synchronized spawning aggregations. The sight of hundreds of golden snappers ascending simultaneously in shimmering vertical columns, releasing clouds of eggs and sperm that dissolve in the current, represents one of the most magical moments that marine nature can offer. Dawn on the shallow reefs of the Maldives is heralded by one of the most distinctive sounds of the tropical ocean: the rhythmic grinding of hundreds of parrotfish munching on coral. Members of the genera Scarus and Chlorurus, these spectacular herbivores form schools that act as gardeners of the reef, consuming algae that grow on dead coral and defecating fine white sand that forms the famous Maldivian beaches. Their colors are simply extraordinary, iridescent scales that transition from emerald green to turquoise blue, from shocking pink to lemon yellow, often combined in patterns that seem hand-painted. On the shallow reefs of the North Malay Atoll, particularly in areas like Banana Reef and HP Reef, schools of 50 to 200 parrotfish create a moving kaleidoscope as they navigate among Acropora and Parrot's coral formations at depths between 3 and 15 meters. The coordinated movement of parrotfish across the reef follows highly organized feeding patterns that benefit the entire ecosystem. Each individual, measuring between 20 and 70 centimeters depending on the species, possesses a fused beak formed by modified teeth, capable of scraping microscopic algae and pieces of coral with millimeter precision. A single large parrotfish can process more than a ton of coral structure per year, excreting superfine sand that is carried by currents to shallow lagoons and beaches. In the Maldives, during low tide, when the water temperature in the shallow reefs reaches 30 degrees Celsius, schools of parrotfish intensify their feeding activity, creating veritable clouds of sediment that temporarily cloud the water. This biological sandstorm is vital to prevent algae from suffocating living corals, maintaining the delicate balance between different forms of life on the reef. In contrast to the frenetic activity of parrotfish, the angelfish of the genus Hiniocus bring an almost ethereal elegance to the Maldivian reefs. These iconic inhabitants of coral reefs form smaller but extraordinarily photogenic schools, generally containing between 15 and 60 individuals swimming in synchronized formation. Their color pattern is striking in its simplicity. A silvery white body cut by 2 or 3 intense black vertical stripes, complemented by extraordinarily long dorsal fins that extend like flags in the wind, hence their popular name. Each fish measures approximately 20 centimeters in length, but their filamentous dorsal fins can add another 10 centimeters to their visual height. On the reefs of Manta Point, Maya Thila, and the walls of the South Ari Atoll, schools of angelfish patrol defined territories at depths between 5 and 30 meters. The behavior of angelfish in the Maldives exemplifies the symbiosis between beauty and function in the underwater world. During the day, the school maintains an open formation while feeding on zooplankton and small invertebrates suspended in the water column. Their elongated fins are not merely ornamental. They function as visual beacons that allow members of the school to maintain visual contact even in turbid waters or during low light conditions at dawn and dusk. When threatened by predators such as groupers or lionfish, the school instantly compresses, creating a vertical wall of black and white stripes that confuses the attacker through an optical effect known as pattern confusion. Cianotu. On full moon nights over the Maldivian reefs, particularly between November and April when sea conditions are calmer, night observers can witness the rare spectacle of angelfish performing their reproductive aggregations, ascending in shimmering columns under the tropical moonlight. Among the delicate branches of the acropora corals that dominate the shallow Maldivian reefs floats one of the most emblematic and colorful schools of fish in the Indian Ocean. Butterfly fish of the genus Chetodon, although forming smaller aggregations than other reef inhabitants, compensate with a chromatic diversity that rivals any terrestrial tropical garden. Schools of 10 to 40 individuals display combinations of bright yellow, vibrant orange, pure white, and intense black, often arranged in geometric patterns of spots, stripes, and bands. Each species exhibits its own visual signature. Some sport false eye spots that confuse predators. Others have dark masks that protect their true eyes. Ranging in size from 10 to 20 centimeters, these delicate fish navigate the coral gardens of the Ba, Ari, and Malay atolls at depths between 2 and 20 meters, feeding on coral polyps, small crustaceans, and invertebrate eggs. The ecological importance of butterfly fish transcends their ornamental beauty. They function as vital indicators of coral reef health. Their presence in significant numbers signals a balanced ecosystem, as these species are extremely sensitive to changes in water quality and coral degradation. In the Maldives, marine scientists monitor butterfly fish populations as biological barometers of reef condition. During coral bleaching events, when ocean temperatures exceed 30 degrees Celsius for extended periods, butterfly fish shoals often decline dramatically, as many species depend exclusively on live coral polyps for food. In the protected reefs of the Maldives, particularly in the Ba Atoll Biosphere Reserve, healthy shoals of butterfly fish perform elaborate courtship dances during the breeding season between April and June, with pairs ascending in synchronized spirals to release gametes into the current. In the deeper waters beyond the reef break, where the vertical walls plunge abruptly into the abyssal blue, another spectacle awaits observers. The majestic schools of unicorn fish of the genus Naso. These open-water navigators get their popular name from the characteristic horn-like protrusion that projects from their foreheads, present in many species of the genus. Their robust bodies, measuring between 40 and 70 centimeters in length, display shades ranging from steel blue to silvery gray, often with iridescent reflections that capture and reflect filtered sunlight. Schools of 100 to 500 unicorn fish patrol the outer reefs of the Maldives, particularly along the vertical walls of the Foteo Channel and the submerged pinnacles of Mamigili at depths between 15 and 40 meters. The lives of unicorn fish are intimately linked to the ocean currents that bathe the outer reefs of the Maldives. These specialized herbivores feed primarily on brown macroalgae that grow in areas of strong water movement, where few other fish can feed efficiently. Their schools perform vertical and horizontal migrations synchronized with the tidal cycles, ascending to the shallow reefs during high tide when the currents bring nutrient-rich waters, and descending to the depths during low tide. The social organization of these schools reveals a hierarchy based on size, with larger individuals leading the formations and having priority access to the best feeding areas. During the breeding season in the Maldives, which occurs mainly between January and March, coinciding with the northeast monsoon currents, massive aggregations of thousands of unicorn fish gather in specific locations such as Manta Point and Majestic, creating silvery clouds that can extend hundreds of meters along the reef walls. The constant roar of waves crashing against the outer reefs of the Maldives provides the soundtrack to one of the most dynamic spectacles in the tropical ocean. Here, in the surf zones where the turbulent waters meet the coral formations, electrifying schools of surgeonfish of the genus Acanthurus dominate the underwater landscape with their impressive speed and millimeter-precise coordination. These elegant herbivores, named for the sharp, scalpel-like blades they bear on either side of their caudal peduncle, form aggregations that can contain from 50 to over 1,000 individuals. Their oval, laterally compressed bodies, measuring between 15 and 30 centimeters, display chromatic variations that include deep indigo blue, bright yellow, olive brown, and even black and white striped patterns. On the reefs of HP Reef, Banana Reef, and along the outer edges of the Ari Atoll, these schools move in synchronized swarms at depths between 1 and 20 meters. The speed at which surgeonfish move across the reef is truly remarkable. They can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour in short bursts when threatened or competing for territory. This agility is possible thanks to their hydrodynamic bodies and wing-shaped pectoral fins that act as stabilizers during high-speed maneuvers. In the Maldives, schools of surgeonfish execute coordinated feeding raids, invading territories defended by damselfish and other territorial species to quickly consume the algae growing on the rocks. The strategy is simple but effective. The large number of invaders overwhelms the defenses of the territorial owners, allowing each member of the school to feed for a few seconds before being driven away. During the breeding season, between August and October, when the waters of the Maldives reach their maximum temperatures close to 30 degrees Celsius, the schools form even larger aggregations that ascend in synchronized vertical columns to release gametes into the downdraft. Coexisting harmoniously with surgeonfish on the same reefs, but occupying a slightly different ecological niche, we find one of the Maldives' most iconic jewels, the yellowfin tuna, scientifically named Xanthanota. These close cousins of the blue-silver tuna have a distinctive coloration that makes them instantly recognizable. A vibrant golden yellow back that gradually transitions to silvery white on the belly, creating an extraordinary visual contrast. Schools of yellowfin tuna can contain from 500 to more than 5,000 individuals, forming golden clouds that dominate the midwater column at depths between 10 and 30 meters. Each fish measures approximately 25 centimeters in length, and when thousands swim in perfect synchrony, the visual effect is that of an underwater aurora borealis, rippling and flowing through the coral formations. The yellowfin tuna of the Maldives are often considered the most photogenic schools in the entire archipelago, and not without reason. On the reefs of Majestic, Fish Head, and along the walls of the Kanduma Channel, these aggregations create breathtaking scenery, especially during the late afternoon when oblique sunlight penetrates the water at dramatic angles, making their golden scales gleam like molten metal. These schools are highly dynamic, constantly changing shape and density in response to currents, the presence of predators, and the availability of plankton. During new moon nights, when darkness is total, the yellowfin tuna descend to depths exceeding 40 meters to rest in sheltered caves and ledges, returning to midwaters at the first sign of light. Their diet consists mainly of zooplankton and small pelagic crustaceans, and a single large school can filter millions of microscopic organisms from the water daily, playing a crucial role in the reef's food chain. Sharing the deeper waters of the outer reefs, but exhibiting less gregarious social behavior, we find the black triggerfish, Melicthes vidua. This robust species has a predominantly black or dark gray coloration with bright white margins on its dorsal, anal, and caudal fins, creating a dramatic contrast that makes them visible even in deep, dimly lit waters. Although they do not form dense schools like their red-toothed cousins, black triggerfish frequently aggregate in loose groups of 10 to 50 individuals along vertical drop-offs and in areas of strong current. Each fish can reach up to 40 centimeters in length and weigh over 3 kilograms. In the deep reefs of the South Ari Atoll, particularly around the submerged pinnacles of Kudara Thila and Mayamagili, these groups patrol territories between 25 and 50 meters deep. The behavior of black triggerfish in the Maldives reflects a life strategy adapted to the extreme conditions of the deep reef waters. Unlike species that inhabit shallow waters, these triggerfish have developed a tolerance to lower temperatures, frequently operating in waters between 25 and 27 degrees Celsius, where deep currents bring in cooler, nutrient-rich waters. Their aggregations form mainly during feeding periods, when they ascend to the middle layers of the water to intercept gelatinous plankton, salps, and other pelagic organisms brought in by the currents. The swimming of black triggerfish is distinctive. Instead of the traditional tail movement used by most fish, they undulate their dorsal and anal fins synchronously, creating a smooth and controlled movement that allows them to maintain a precise position even in violent currents. During monsoon storms between May and September, when surface conditions become dangerous, these fish descend to depths greater than 60 meters, where they find calmer and more sheltered waters. If this virtual dive through the spectacular schools of fish in the Maldives touched your heart and sparked your admiration for the underwater world, consider subscribing to the Planeta Vivo channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next explorations. Like this video if you learned something new about these magnificent inhabitants of tropical reefs, and share it with friends and family who also appreciate the natural wonders of our blue planet. In the comments, tell us which school of fish most captured your imagination, and if you were lucky enough to witness any of these underwater spectacles in person. Together, through knowledge and appreciation, we can help protect these oceanic treasures so that future generations can also marvel at the hypnotic dances of the most beautiful schools of fish in the Maldives.